What is going on, YouTube and y'all squad? This is your boy Yakrates. This is your review for Love and Marriage Huntsville Season 4, episodes 24 and 25. So last week's episode and this week's episode, I actually have all my energy back because I didn't have it for the Potomac review this past week. I apologize. But before we dive into this review, like I said, don't forget tonight you will have the Real Housewives of Potomac review. Also, the Whether You Like It or Not panel on Monday, if I'm not mistaken, it should be on Really Be TV's channel, if I'm not mistaken. And then also, in addition to that, starting Friday, either Friday or Saturday, but more than likely Friday. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet comes out, so I will be doing a playthrough. So you can expect pretty much a playthrough of that. I'm thinking about doing a dog playthrough, not 100% sure. But with that being said, there is a chance that the reviews for Potomac and Love and Marriage Huntsville you may get on Monday because I have to dedicate that following Monday to being ready for the panel, but I will be doing that. So just something to think about, something to keep in mind if you like playthroughs or you want to see more of me, because that will be very consistent content for at least a week or two before I start venturing out doing other things. But just wanted to let you guys know that, let you know right here, because not everybody stays to the end. So with I'm so silly. Okay, all right, so let's get into the review, starting with episode 25. So we have Courtney, that is Stormy's husband, pretty much doing like a basketball peace summit. So in this episode, the men are going to have their peace summit, the women are going to have their, their peace party, whatever you want to call it. So they talk about the women having their little peace party thing. Maurice is says he's starting a black title company. I thought that was Kimmy's project. See, can't let her have nothing. Martell says, he and Mel, their energy is focused solely on the children and brings up the trip. So just he wonders, like, can that or will that send mixed messages to the children? Because he even mentioned with him and Maurice how, kid, like, they felt with their parents like, oh wow, we're doing this together. Are they going to get back together? So just that whole thing, and he's like, just keep that in mind, that could give the kids false hope seeing y'all in this type of environment. We get Mel and Stormy. Mel talks. What the hell did I want? Oh, needing protection. They're in like this almost type of spiritual place, like I think it was called dream catcher or whatnot. So she wants to get I think she said an obsidian because that's for her as a Scorpio, needs protection. They rehashed the Wanda incident and then the comeback dinner, and Melody is just not looking for any, like, not looking for friends, more or less, when it comes to certain people. Cool. Stormy wants to get all the girls together. Melody's kind of like, I don't know. Now we get Courtney and Marceau, and this is them looking at commercial real estate, because at the B-Ball Peace Summit, Courtney did bring up that he wants to get into that, and that is Marceau's specialty, because his is commercial, and if I'm not mistaken, Martell's is more residential. Courtney says when it comes to business, he and Stormy are a team, because if he goes into this venture, it wouldn't just be him, it will be him and Stormy. Marceau likes to keep things separate. Let him tell it. He feels that if he were to go into true partnership type things with Letitia, that could spell the end for them, which more or less just leads me to believe you just don't want to be told what to do by a woman, even though she is the majority stakeholder in y'all's business, but that ain't none of my business. And then Marceau says to us he pretty much is willing to teach Courtney when it comes to commercial real estate, but he's not willing to go into business with him because let him tell it. Courtney's whole mindset is, when is the return? When is the return? When is the return? And he doesn't want to hear that. And I can understand it, but let's be honest. Most people, that is their mindset. But if you let someone know how the business goes, and that, hey, this is the business in a good market, this is when you can't expect a return. In a bad market, that, like, if you explain that, some people are, open to and will understand it. But again, this is a business venture, and if somebody is putting their money or investing, they're gonna want to know. But cool, whatever. We get Kimmy and Maurice. We found out that their theater is done. They're having movie night, and this is when we start to get a timeline. And the timeline starts at June 14th. We'll get the final part in, episode 25, but obviously you're getting that all in one review. And she says that she has found, one lump. And then, she went kind of like redid her, cell test, and then she found another lump, one of her breasts, one of her lymph node. And she hopes this journey will help someone else, because she initially was asked if she wanted to quit the show, but she said no, because hey, maybe this can help somebody else. And she is trying not to think the worst. Maurice says that he is there and they will face this together, and his whole thing is we have to pray. She feels if she acts like it's not a big thing, then it may not be a big thing. And that is like, that does play a part, because it's almost just like if you're in a bad mood, like, one, it takes more energy and more muscles to like be sad, mad, or whatever, than it is to smile. And sometimes forcing yourself to smile will in fact improve, your actual mood and whatnot. And it's also that whole fake it until you make it, where it's just like, you keeping yourself in a good state of mind. And she says, they need to make plans and provisions in the event that something goes wrong. And in general, everybody should. Like, even right now, like, I'm working on that. For those of y'all who don't know, I am a veteran. So, like I said, I mean, I'm doing my VA stuff. Went ahead and put in the request for a veteran's burial, to where the only thing that we have to pay for on this side, or whoever is over my affairs, and I say that because I'm not married yet or whatever, but all that will have to be paid for is the casket. But everything else, but literally having all of that mapped out, what happens, and because I'm the only Jew in my family, so having all of that mapped out in terms of the burial process and what happens if I'm in the hospital, so nobody has to make those decisions if I can't for myself. And like I said, I'm all of 35. I'll be 36 next month. Yay! So that type of thing. But you have a lot of people that they wait until like something tragic happens, and we really need to get out of that mindset, because again, we know tomorrow's never promised, and you never want to something to happen to you to where you can't make a decision and somebody else has to, because that's not something that they need to live with for the rest of their lives. Nevertheless, Maurice says they need to pray. Now, how I live my life is I pray for sunshine, but I expect the rain. And that's one of those where when I expect the rain, I'm thinking it, because I'm not going to speak it. Because I'm one of those where I'm all about manifestation. I know that words mean things. There is power behind words, and that is my spirituality speaking. So I do my best to watch what I say. Because sometimes, even when you in the midst of just going through a mood or a moment, you can speak something that will go against what it is that you really want. But I do expect certain things, because it's just like, at least, because if it happens, I won't be as devastated, rather than, just being, just willfully optimistic and nothing. But I'm always going to speak life. I'm always going to speak positivity. I'm always going, and when I do that, the majority of the time, everything goes the way that it needs to go. Because I've spoke to some things and people just like, no, it's this. I'm like, no, it's that. And it comes to pass. That's just how I'm wired. That's how my faith is. I say all that to say, they were saying that they're not going to tell anybody, and this is more or less Kimmy's decision, because again, it's dealing with her, until she actually knows. And I put in here that the prayer needs to be on one accord. So I agree with not telling too many people, because now you're getting people worried and upset and whatnot, and it could be nothing. But for those that know, everybody's prayer needs to be on one accord, and everybody needs to be praying for the same thing. And in situations like this, for those of y'all who are religious and or spiritual, with the prayers, you actually need to be using, scripture of whatever faith you belong, and use that in your prayer, not just the blind, da 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 da, by his stripes I'm healed, and like literally scripture, like where it is, this is what you said, da, 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 I'm speaking this into it, this is I'm manifesting this, these type of things, and not just you. Everybody needs to be on one accord, and if somebody is speaking differently than what you are speaking, you need to move them out the way until things are handled, because you don't need that contamination in your faith. I know I'm speaking to somebody. I ain't come here to preach, so I'll move on. But hopefully, you pick up what I'm putting down. Moving on. So now we get Stormy's peace party. Destiny brings her cousin Demi, and Stormy whole thing is she didn't expect her to bring a guest. Now this is one of those where she brought backup because she felt she was going to need backup. Though I understand it, that is some very rude, disrespectful type of stuff. And the way I'm wired, like depending on how I'm feeling, I would have just obviously they're filming the scene, so it is what it is. But just in general, it's just like you really doing that, and then you didn't have the intestinal fortitude to let me know. Like that is very, very disrespectful. But whatever. They say their individual mantras. Mel says she desires peace, harmony, and love. Now Destiny coughs. Initially, I'm thinking, okay, was that in response to that? Because with production, they can splice stuff together to make it appear a certain way. But Destiny had said in her confessional or interview that for her to want that, but you came to my establishment with a different type of energy, it don't make sense. So I guess that was in the moment. Kimmy says, I can be and do anything and overcome anything. And she begins to tear up. And they all consistent, even us through, like I felt it. Like it's one of those, like you can truly tell when somebody is really feeling and going through something, and then you can tell when somebody is putting on and acting. And you can tell that she was really going through something. And she says that she didn't want to share it at that time. And Mel says in her interview that she knows Kimmy is a strong person. So to even see her tearing up like this lets you know that this is something that is legit and for real. So then they play the game, what I think, what you heard, and what I meant. And I get it, but it kind of doesn't make sense where it's like, what I think and what you heard, you have to speak something for them to hear something. But whatever, because it should have been like what I said, what you heard, what I meant. But okay, cool, whatever. I'm just saying. Stormy starts, and she says when it came to her and Destiny with the whole incident at the Galentine's, she just wanted to know like what was her side of things. Destiny says, well, what I heard was you asking me the question about a good 3 or 4 times, and Stormy is like, well, I just want to know your perspective, and Destiny's like, yeah, I know because we've had that conversation. Cool, done. So Stormy asks Tiffany. Tiffany says no, but then they're kind of like, really? There's nothing. So then she says, well, there were several times with Destiny. And Destiny's like, well, if you want to spin it, let's go. And then in that moment, and it went to commercial, so she didn't repeat it. But she says, asked if this Detroit. She was like, yep, be careful. I'm sorry. I felt a way about that. I did. Look, everything isn't colorism. I know that. But it seemed like she was being very white woman in that particular moment. And it was almost just like, I'm just saying, it's just, I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm just saying that's what I felt. Okay. Because like I said, what I felt and what is fact are two different things. Okay. And then Tiffany says it started at her brunch, and she said you maybe slightly exaggerated and then went to the bathroom. I was just trying to remind you that we met before. Kimmy then says, okay, so are you saying that you felt the misunderstanding was y'all had already had the conversation? I'm sorry, my dang on Bluetooth devices over here acting stupid. Okay, if y'all hear, my bad. The misunderstanding is that y'all already had the conversation before, and Destiny's reaction was almost as if she's hearing this for the first time. And Tiffany says, correct. And Destiny says that wasn't the time nor the place. And Tiffany felt that because of this particular situation, it was going to be hard for her to, get to know the other women. And Destiny says, Destiny doesn't like the delivery. And the woman, because so pretty much it was the whole thing of, oh, I do remember you, da da da. And your dude was with a woman that I thought was you, but was really somebody else. And it's literally you trying to blow up the spot and whatnot. And Destiny says, well, the woman in question was Melnika. Not to say if it was or wasn't, but I feel like if that was the case, it should have been addressed then. But again, I don't know. Maybe she had to get clarity. Stormy as Destiny. Destiny says next person. Then Tisha. Tisha says she's good with everybody. Then we get to Mel, and then Mel brings up the Madani relaunch and her saying that she did speak to Destiny. Destiny says she didn't hear anything. And then you had Stormy saying, okay, so now knowing that she did speak, does that change anything? Destiny says no. That is the end of that episode. Now it's the current episode, picking up where we left off. And Destiny says it wasn't audible enough for her, which is understandable. And that's what she should have said. Just like, okay, well, if you did speak, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could be one of those where you can own your party and like, okay, well, if you did speak, I didn't hear it. Kimmy says, that Mel did speak to the both of them, and then her cousin jumps in. I'm not gonna really entertain what her cousin said because it was her trying to defend what Destiny was feeling and whatnot. And this is one of those where I'm sorry, your friend doesn't need a mouthpiece. Because if she was there for backup, it should have only been if it became like a 2-on-1, 3-on-1 type of thing. So we not even considering Demi over here. Stormy asks, okay, well, are y'all cool now? Because it's almost like they kind of have an understanding. And Mel wonders why we can't normalize people feeling how they feel. It's okay to not want to be in a relationship with somebody. It's okay, to cut somebody off. You're like, like we need to stop forcing people to try to sit here and like be cool. Like it can be a respect thing and they can coexist. And I wholeheartedly agree. And you have people that are like that, but then it's also you guys are shooting the show. So I mean, at least there needs to be like some type of coming together so they can actually do the show. But I get it. Mel and Destiny toast to what Mel just said, where it's like, hey, we ain't gotta be cool. Like you feel how you feel, I feel how I feel, but we can still just, be. So then Stormy gives everybody her canvas beauty, which look, it was a shameless plug. I ain't mad at it. Mel even walked out with it like this, where you could see canvas. I'm like, well, look, hey, do that for your friend. Rep her stuff. I ain't even mad at you. Mel and Kimmy are outside, and Mel was having they walked out together, and she asked her like, "Is everything okay?" And Kimmy's like, because she was asking like, "Do you want to talk about it?" And Kimmy's like, "Not right now, but I appreciate you actually asking and truly caring." So that's good. We get Marceau and Tisha. It's date night. Marceau says he's been paying attention and he's working on paying attention to Tisha. Tisha's happy that he's been listening. They talk about the couples retreat because because at first I'm just like, why are they talking about this? But it's the whole maybe because of the couples trip that things are changing and he's actually applying what was being said. And Marceau feels that Dr. Francis was tough on Lou and he's biased against men. Maybe he's just holding y'all accountable. Maybe. And he doesn't want to work with Dr. Francis. And then Tisha asks him, what's your criteria? And he really has no criteria. Because then he says that, well, they need to have a therapist who, lives their advice, Dr. Francis. And, he wants to see the fruit of what it is that they're giving to them as advice, Dr. Francis. But then he says, but they can't be perfect. So you're assuming that he's perfect. No, what you want is you want a therapist, primarily someone that is truly male identified, that is going to literally hold the woman to task and not the man. Like you don't want to be held accountable. Like, dude, just say that. Tisha's having a period party for her daughter and wants Marcel to be there, and initially it was like it's like a girl's thing. He's like, oh, well, that's very sexist. She's like, oh no, but you can come since this is your daughter and you have daughters and you need to know, what goes on and how to be there. He's like, oh, well, that's the one thing. Like, no, I don't want to be there. And the reality is like that's kind of messed up. Like one, again, we never gonna let go of the fact that you didn't know that one of your children had a peanut allergy, but they none of my business. But it's also that whole thing is you have women that are raising boys and they don't know what it is to be a boy slash a man and all this other stuff. But damn it, they have to learn and have to sit here and try to teach a boy how to be a man and know about the functions of a boy and this, that, and the third is no different. And as a man, you should know what it is that you're like, maybe not extensively, but know enough to be able to help them. Because she even said, what happens if something happened to me? And he kind of like, but then she was like, because if something happened to you, I'm going to be happy over here single and alone. Because he was like, he'll remarry and have the woman do it. She's like, I'm going to be over here happy with that insurance check. He did not like that. You could see on his face, which is like, it's like, yeah, She know what it is because you just said you was gonna have you another woman. Oh, she can't be thotting and bopping at 40, but you could have another woman like the double standards. But I'm not gonna give that too much energy. Anyway, you have Kimmy and Maurice. They're traveling for the biopsy. She says that the results she can get as early as the next day, and the worst case is it'll be at the end of the week. We get Destiny. She's having a photo shoot for her single. Mel shows up. There's good energy. They're being playful and whatnot, which is a breath of fresh air. Nice to see. Okay, look, I'm gonna give it to Mel and Destiny because damn it, it couldn't have been me. Mel, had did a video in support of Destiny's single. She was going to post it following the whole Madani thing, but after that, she just felt that she wouldn't. But she did end up showing it to Destiny. The production had asked Destiny in her interview, what was your support for Mel singing? She was like, well, I don't know how to answer that. Just say that in that space you were trying to support her. Anyway, Mel felt when she spoke and Destiny didn't respond, she internalized that as okay, but she didn't want to be bothered and she just left it at that. She wasn't expecting anything else. But Mel has made peace with things. So Destiny wants to know how can you make peace trying to assassinate a friend's character? Mel is like, that's what you did because you didn't call me a liar and a master manipulator. Now the master manipulator was insinuated at their sit down, but the master manipulator happened in scene. I'm sorry, in the interview. Because Melody is an EP on the show, obviously she saw that. So this is what she's speaking to. Destiny says that she didn't, but Mel called her a liar. She was like, well, in that moment, yeah, you were lying. So yeah, I did call you a liar. I could appreciate Mel being like, yeah, said it, meant it, yeah. Standing in it, I could appreciate that because we're not really getting that from Destiny. And then she brings up her saying that she and Mel texted. Mel said, you sent a text, but we never had a conversation. Now, this is one of those where I know people say semantics, but words do mean things. Because technically, text message thread is a conversation. Mel whole thing is, I didn't respond. So technically, we were not conversing. Now, had she sent a text back? Because there was that whole thing of them where it was like, well, we texted, but we never had a conversation. And that happened earlier, and it's a whole we had a text conversation but we never verbally had a conversation. That whole thing, not get into it because it's way too much. Destiny then brings up the whole business thing with this one person she was working with and how that person didn't want to do business with her because that person knew Mel and because there was some issues there, and that person said until you and Mel have a convo, I don't want to work with you, blah blah blah. Mel's whole thing is, you know what, look, I didn't come here for that. I don't want to do the back and forth. Like, I really just want us to move forward to where we can coexist and whatnot. Part of me felt like Mel did not want to own whatever that was, but at the same exact time, they're never going to agree on anything. One has one version of it, the other one has the other version, and it's just like, look, let us just be cool. Let us just coexist. Destiny was like, "You love me, don't you?" Mel's like, "Yeah," and I appreciated what we had when we had it. And Destiny tears up, reminiscing and whatnot, and you can tell that she really wants to be cool with Melody. But this is one of those where, for what, again, I don't remember the history and how things fell out. Y'all can let me know in the comments, but you played a part in the demise of this friendship, and it is where it's at. And again, people just have to own their spot in it. But this is one of those where, unfortunately, you need slash want Melody more than Melody needs slash wants you. Um, and then we end the scene with Tisha at the period party. One of the ladies had mentioned how food does play a part on how your body works and whatnot. It says that she had bought a burger and fries and asked, "Hey, do y'all know when I bought it?" Somebody said 1985. When I tell you, I hollered because kids are shady. They know what they're doing. But she's like, "No, it's 2006." And this was still being shot in 2022, and she was like, it hasn't broken down. The most that is done is shrunk. So knowing that eating this and the effect that it has on your body and saying you need to eat whole foods and not processed fast food, cool. Then one person talks about menstrual poverty. This, I did not even know what this was, but it's some women not having the funds to be able to purchase certain products for that type of for the health of that area. Never. Again, I'm a dude. I don't know nothing about that, but they were just saying if you have it, you know, like if you're at school, whatever, like carry a little extra because you never know what somebody else is going through. The girls get gift bags with certain things that they can use and whatnot. Whereas if you have a question, you can write it down and it's pretty much anonymous, and we can just answer the questions. I felt it was very informative. I'm just like, this is cool. This is cool. And a lot of stuff in the African American community is very taboo, and we don't speak about it. And we do need to normalize, you know, certain stuff such as is having these conversations, you know, and not leaving it necessarily to the schools to have conversations about, you know, how one's body part works, sex education, all these different things, you know, like we need to have that mental instability, you know, trauma, like we need to have these conversations. So I mean, it was good seeing. Again, as a dude, I learned something, so that was cool. So Maurice shows up and pulls Tisha outside to see Kimmy. So this is after, not same day after, but I want to say maybe like, well, maybe a day or however many days after she had the biopsy and whatnot. But she was supposed to show up to show support, and Kimmy didn't want to go in, but Maurice pulls Tisha out because Tisha had said because they were going to be discussing certain things and they wanted to create a safe space for the girls that it would be just an all female event. So he pulls Tisha out, and um Kimmy says, you know, she can't stay, but you know, tells her that, you know, they found two lumps, they had tests done, and right when she said lumps, Tisha was just like, oh no. And I think she knew, and based off of, you know, the tone and how it's being delivered, she knew. I think we all knew. And she says that it is cancerous. So she had said previously that she found the first lump June the 14th. So she got the results on June the wrong page, June the 22nd, and found out that it's a triple negative. It's aggressive, and I guess because I forget it's aggressive, but I guess it's not stage 3 or 4 because stage 4 is, well, stage 3 is like it's aggressive, and stage 4 is there's really nothing you can do. So they caught her early, and she's at stage 2, and she's just in the process. And T-Show thing is, you know, I'm here for you, and you just let me know how and when you need me, because I know that if I just like try to show up or whatever, you probably don't want to deal with me. And it's a very touching scene, and that's pretty much where it ends. So that is all that I have, you all. So I think I was able to squeeze out more because I did both episodes in one. So yeah, with that being said, that's all I got. So please rate, comment, subscribe, and share. Look at me. Okay, there we go. I'm back. And I will see you all for the next video. All right, y'all. Peace out.